All right, we are going live. We are going live. Let's actually go with some slightly different footage for right now. Oh, yes. Good and ominous. Good and ominous for the beginning of our live stream. Now, let me make sure that the audio is working just fine. Audio's working just fine. Well, fantastic. All right. So, good morning, good evening, good day, wherever you are at, and welcome to the Winter Olympics. Hope you guys are able to watch because I personally I enjoy the Olympics, and we are also in the month of Valentine's, which means we're going to be talking a little bit more about romance this month than usual because why not? And that's going to even be part of the fun and topics that we are going to be having tonight, as well as as well as our big lesson. And of course, there was a dialogue drop. Not sure if it was something that actually came from Toby Fox, if it's legit or not. But is there a date with Berdly in the future for Deltarune Chapter 5. We'll discuss that as well as the allegations of indie slop being levied at Glitch, and it will be a chance for me to also kind of have a little bit of a tell-all and rant in preparation for short to becoming shortly in the coming video, which will have the rematch of Glitch versus Disney. And so a lots to do, lots to talk about, and it's so great to have you guys here. We got Dorcas Daydreams, we got Arts, we got ISO, and we have Lucid Star Mellows. Great to see you all here. And not about to crash out. Well, good. We don't need any crashing out unless it's going to be most glorious, like Friren's crash out in well, not in this week's episode, but in last week's episode of Frieren Beyond Journey's End. So, quickly to address, Dark Stage Dream says, Berdly, why haven't I heard about this yet? This was passed along to me this morning by Stormcrow. And then, as Art says, supposedly there was some, but it was fake, I believe. We'll see. We will indeed see. Stormcrow got to me a screenshot of the dialogue, and we'll have a look at it, and we'll see later on what we think about it. ISO, typos are the worst. Yeah, typos suck. Though it's not as bad. It's not it's not as bad as autocorrect. I have found myself now, whenever autocorrect strikes, like people are like, ducking autocorrect. I've begun to say ducking item select. Because autocorrect now has been screwing up so many of my communications. It is ridiculous. And I'm like, no, I do not want this. I hate this. It's so annoying. And kind of in line with that, how many people are celebrating the downfall of AI. I mean, AI is here to stay. Let's just be honest. AI is here to stay, but the AI the AI industry this week took an absolute body blow. It's going to be quite interesting. AI slop will still be made, but things will change. So, let's see here. Where shall we begin tonight? Do we want to already just dive into the writing lesson, mapping out your romantic arcs, or do we want to talk about the Berdly dialogue drop, or shall we engage in whether or not Glitch has just evolved into indie slop? Let me know what you guys are thinking. Tyler Goodman says, I am so happy that Adobe Animation will not be discontinued. Who animated animation versus animator by Alan Becker? Animated animation versus animator by Alan Becker. It's not ringing any bells, unfortunately. Sorry, Tyler. It says, I'd rather say I don't want half-baked nonsense, then half-bacon nibble. I'm gonna have to remember that. That half-baked nonsense will now be known as half-bacon nibble. TV Count says maybe do the lesson first. Is that how everyone else is feeling? Shall we do the writing lesson first and then get into the discussion about Slop and the Berdly dialogue? Say this is a democracy. If people participate, then they might just get their way. Well, whilst I wait for more input, I'll say this: the cough is getting better. The eternal cough is slowing up somewhat, which is quite nice. So hopefully, I'm not hacking up a lung halfway through. Though I do still have obviously water on hand and cough drops ready to go. Art says, let's address the Berdly dialogue. Okay, so we got a vote for the Berdly dialogue. And then we have a vote for the lesson. And honey, I've got my big fat cat right here next to me. Honey, what are you interested in? She's right now interested in my shoes. Madeline says, I saw Berdly dialogue and have been summoned. Oh, it looks like democracy is leaning towards the Berdly dialogue. So, and since I've got Deltarune footage right now going, I think that works pretty well. So let's do the Berdly dialogue. Oh, we got a tie for lesson. Oh, what will be the tie-breaking vote? 2 for lesson, 2 for Berdly. Who will break this most vexing of ties between topics? Isn't democracy just great? Lucy says, "Oops!" Hey, no, oops at all. No oops at all. Like I like knowing what people are interested in because this helps me out. This helps me out with knowing how I should structure things. But Lucid Star has changed her vote on over to Berdly, so Berdly it shall be. Let me bring it on up. Okay, so this is joins with alt account. So this was what was sent to me early this morning by Stormcrow. So Berdly, I love Ferris wheels. The circular motion, the mechanics, they're like collections of elegant formulas. Now, I will just say this: if this is all a prank and a joke, congratulations. It looks pretty real, at least to me. If someone can actually read Japanese and tell me otherwise, then great. But I think the dialogue, however, I think works for Berdly. I love Ferris wheels, the circular motion, the mechanics. They're like collections of elegant formulas. And here's the thing. Again, if this is legit, this actually would fit in pretty well with where Berdly is currently at in the game. In the Dark World, back in Chapter 2, Susie helped Berdly to realize that he's just full of himself. Oh, you post something in the Discord for me. All right. I'll check that out while also at the same time trying to talk. I am not the kind of man who can walk and chew bubblegum at the same time, I guess. Oh, Berdly dialogue is from Pokemon Black and White. Oh my gosh. Oh, you're right. Ooh, well. Nice. Very nice. Okay, well, whoever stole this, again, I have to give a tip of the hat. If this so it's proven fake. Okay. Thank you, Arts. Now then, let me though still, however, give a tip of the hat to the to the nonsense, because even though obviously this is fake, this actually works out well for Berdly, because this actually does fit in well with where Berdly is currently in the game. In the Dark World in the second chapter, yeah, sure. He comes to terms with who he is, the fact that he's kind of living a lie, wearing a facade to Susie. It's one of the great emotional moments of chapter 2. However, when he wakes up, he's like, it's just a dream. It's just a dream. I would never feel that way for Susan. And we see him after that still living up to the facade and trying to be the number one smartest kid, even though we know by now he's an absolute idiot, and he's trying to be the harem protagonist of his own story. So it all jives. However, because we know that Berdly wants to go with Noelle to the fair, and that he even is considering going with Susan. I will do it as an act of charity. You'll even go with Chris. That like he wants that romantic moment. This right here works. Obviously, once again, it's fake. It's fake. But again, I have to applaud the person who tried duping everyone in choosing dialogue that actually fits with Berdly, trying to act smart, obviously trying to be a little bit romantic, and playing into that facade. It fits. However, Arts, as the Pokemon fan, remembered the scene from Pokemon Black and White. So, yes, debunked. All right. I can now go forward with my theory for what will happen at the fair. And I will tell you guys this, I intend to, on Friday of next week, drop my video about what I think will happen at the fair in Chapter 5. That'll be my next Deltarune theory video. In Nimbasa City. Nimbasa sounds like it's somewhere in Africa. It's a cool name, Nimbasa. But yeah, so that's something to look forward to on Friday. Also, I should probably say this right now before I forget, and hopefully I'll remember again at the end of the stream. Next week, I'll be doing the live stream on Thursday. My reason for that is because I've got friends coming in from out of town who I haven't seen in a while. And so I love you guys, but friends from out of town are coming, and it's easy enough to switch streaming night on over to Thursday rather than say, hey, friends from out of town. I'm gonna have to put you off for a little while. So next week, live stream on Thursday night. Okay, because I've got friends coming in, but I will not leave you guys alone on Friday because I will have the Deltarune theory video for Chapter 5 out on Friday. That is my goal. Mala says, I feel like Toriel takes Sans, and then there's that inferno of jealousy. And Art says, Berdly wants to go for appearance's sake more than actual romance sounds like. And here's the thing, Arts, I am going to agree with you. Berdly is again, this is again why this little bit of dialogue right here works, because it feels like it's in the same vein of Berdly living up to those expectations, trying to keep up appearances, trying to keep up his facade, rather than be who he truly is. Now then, Matterlad, you also bring up a really fair point right there. I feel like Toriel takes Sans, and then there's the inferno of jealousy. There will be infernos of jealousy. I believe this is. I mean, I'll give you guys already some of my thoughts without the finely crafted theory video. I feel like there's going to be a lot of jealousy in Chapter 5. And here's the thing. Here's the thing is that I think that chapter 5 is kind of meant to be a chapter in terms of like the overall story of the Dark World that's really meant to break the characters. The reason why I say that is because remember back to Gerson telling Susie about his story. He sums it all up. He's a great writer. He sums up the whole thing for Susie before before jumping on ahead, and it's a fantastic sales pitch too. That we got the first episode. That we got the first book, which was about the king and the dragon, and then after the king and the dragon, we've got the saving the queen in the city with the chariot race. Then then there's the adventure to the great northern isle, and then there is the trial of the Lord of the Hammer, and then chapter 5, the pink and gold fields burning with jealousy. And after that, going into the next chapter, Gerson never made it further than that. Now, obviously, that should let us know that chapter 6 is going to be one heck of a doozy. But I feel like chapter 5 is kind of going to be the one that like really begins breaking. I feel like it's meant to kind of break us a little bit in order to make chapter 6 hit so hard. And Toby Fox has already been doing this. So think back to chapters 1 and 2. Chapter 1, if you play it straight, you save the day, you befriend the entire kingdom, king is overthrown, Lancer's put on the throne, everything is great, and Susie now loves being a hero. Chapter 2, you save Noelle, and Susie starts gaining a friendship with Noelle. This is something very important to her. But not only that, you help Berdly in a very, very profound way. And he starts amending himself. It's great. On top of that, you stop Queen from doing something really, really awful. We learn a little bit more about the roaring that's going to happen. But hey, the day is saved. We've recruited so many people. And even though, the second chapter ends ominously with how Chris opens up the fountain and everything, in terms of the Dark World adventure, everything's going really, really well. And then chapter 3 hits, where you're confronted with the Knight. And unless you've got the Shadow Mantle and are able to duke it out with the Knight and survive, you get crushed by the Knight. Undyne gets kidnapped. Even though you've saved Toriel, though Toriel's probably a red herring, and true, if you've played it right, you've recruited tons of people. And then again, if you really dived in deep, like with the sword route, like what's right now playing, you've got the Shadow Mantle, you've learned more about Chris, you've got the great Cruzy moment. Like, even though there's a lot of great things that happen, that confrontation with the Knight is just, it's crushing. If we had to wait a year or two for the next chapter after chapter 3, there would be people who would straight up drop the game because that would just be harrowing. And then in chapter 4, even though again we save the day, and everything, gain recruits supposedly. Well, we'll see how things play out in chapter 5. You don't know what happened to Father Alvin. The church has been crashed. You find out that Toriel and Sans have been having a spicy rendezvous, which obviously makes Susie really upset. On top of that, even though we've defeated the Titan and you've had this great moment with Gerson and Susie is really growing as a person, you can tell that Susie is incredibly shaken by everything that's happened. You can even tell that Chris, to an extent, is shaken by what has happened. Ralsei is living in a state of fear almost, based off of everything that we've learned. It's pretty rough. It's pretty rough. So we've gone from 2 chapters where everything was great and hunky-dory to now 2 chapters that have more bittersweet endings or more nuanced endings. But still, even in those darker moments, we've come out on top. But what might chapter 5 do to tenderize us? leading into chapter 6? That's a big question. And I don't really know, but thinking about like what you guys have said right here about how there will be this inferno of jealousy because of Toriel and Sans. So as Arts then supplies as well, Asgore's jealous of Sans. Caddy is jealous of Susie. Noelle is jealous of Chris. And well, let's also throw in there that Berdly's going to be feeling jealous. Like why does Chris get all the girls? But what's up with that? When really it's that Susie is getting everyone, the true harem protagonist. But yeah, I think that there will be some real jealousy from all those characters. I would even submit that there's a very good chance we're going to find out about jealousy revolving around Des. The reason why I say that comes back to my video, my analysis of the battle with Miss Mizzle, about how she says that there's this blue flower that we can go meet. Well, very likely we're going to find the blue flower in chapter 5. It's kind of a hint and a nod towards that. Okay, a blue flower. Miss Mizzle is all about the relationship between knight and lady, earning the favor of the person that you love, and usually in the case of the knight and the lady, that the knight must earn the favor of the woman. So there's a very good chance, since we've been introduced to the Roaring Knight, very good chance that the Roaring Knight is Des. And we know that there's a real history between Des and Azrael. We're probably going to learn that there's some history of jealousy in regards to Des and Azrael. My guess would be that we're going to learn that Des was jealous of other people being close to Azrael. That is going to be my guess for right now. You would think it's the other way around, because normally, again, it's the guy. Normally, we would think in this case of a high school setting that it's the guy who's probably more jealous of the cool girl, because Des is obviously the cool girl. But I think that because Toby Fox likes to play around with expectations, it's going to be the other way around. Combine that then with, when Asgore finds out about Toriel and Sans, he's going to break. And here's what I think, is that Asgore will open a dark fountain in order to already initiate what he believes is his plan that is going to get his family back and set everything straight. And so his jealousy will propel him to open up the dark fountain, introduce us to the field of pink and gold flowers. But we will also have all of the jealousy that is coming out of the festival. That we're going to see some really real-ish go down because of the Ferris wheel ride. I think that we will get to choose who ends up with whom on the Ferris wheel, but that no matter what choice we make, it is going to lead to a severe misunderstanding, hurt feelings, and real jealousy. Marilyn says, I'm imagining the townfolk started to fall into disarray or fear from the missing police, the destroyed church, and other stuff that may happen later, and then people will be actively on the watch. Yeah, we're going to find out here now. With that thought in mind, Matterlad, who is in charge of the town? It's Carol Holiday. Carol Holiday would be the one in lieu of, or not in lieu of, but Sans. Hey, Sans. Sans, a sheriff, like Undyne, because Undyne would have been the sheriff. Sans Undyne, who is then going to basically lead community watches, community control. It's not going to be Napstablook. It's going to be the mayor. And so I think that that it really is part of a greater scheme that Mayor Holiday is hoping to kind of actually create that fear, that discomfort. And people will be freaking out. And she then, as the mayor, because people are going to be like, Mayor Holiday, what are we going to do? She can use her position of influence to put people off the trail and to basically position the town where she needs them to be in order for Chris to complete their plan. whatever really that plan all entails. Artsy thinks Pickle Man is his best friend. Oh, yeah. Oh man, poor Asgore. Okay. But yeah, that's what I see happening. I see that there's going to be a lot of jealousy. It's going to be Asgore feeling jealous about Sans. We're going to see all of the jealousy revolving around Susie, and I believe that we're going to learn about jealousy that played out between Des and Azrael. I think we're going to get whammied with it. And again, when I talk about like how I think that will feel kind of broken, I think that that's kind of where we're meant to be by the end of chapter 5. Just feeling very overwhelmed, like, oh my gosh, like, is there no decent person in this town? Why have you all done all these stupid things? And that whatever happens at the fair is just going to be so devastating. It will genuinely make us wonder, how are we going to repair all this? How can we be friends with everyone in the town or in the classroom when there's this many broken and hurt feelings? Like I think that that's going to kind of be the real question and challenge that will be presented to us by the end of chapter 5. What about jealousy with different Darkners? Now that brings up an interesting question. We've already seen jealousy with Darkners in El Nino and El La Nina. Yeah, there are Cloud and Moon characters. Nimbasa City mentioned. Yes, we got the Nimbasa City mentioned. Again, it just sounds so cool. It sounds like a city in Africa. Nimbasa. Ooh, say it again. Mufasa. No, Nimbasa. So what about jealousy with different Darkners? We've already seen some of that play out. I think that if we get jealousy from other Darkners, it's going to be entirely new characters that we get introduced to in the 5th chapter. That would be my guess. If there's any extra jealousy or any extra characters who are jealous, because we've already sorted out everything between La Nina and El Nino, or La Nina, whatever. I can't remember how Toby Fox butchered their titles, but so we've already gotten that. If there is any other character who could end up being jealous, I mean, we do have Rule's Card, because Rule's Card is definitely someone who wants the power. He wants to be with the queen and all this other stuff. He could get jealous. We could see some legit jealousy come out of Rule's Card. I wouldn't say that's out of the realms of possibility. We could even see some jealousy from King in regards to Queen. I mean, it's very clear that they had a relationship. There is history there. Let's see here. I mean, let's see here. Newbert. Everyone's going to be jealous of Newbert because Newbert's the coolest. And there's just going to be someone who's just going to get very jealous that they're not like Newbert. Maybe Darkners that progressively become more jealous and hateful the worse Asgore feels in the dark world, and he potentially makes. Ooh, we got more. I could then the dark world he potentially makes. Yeah, I think that's a possibility. That is a possibility. Whatever is in his basement will become part of his inferno of jealousy. Yeah. Oh, you know. Oh, a thought just came to me. This is going to sound bad. This is going to sound really, really sad and bad for Asgore. But what if the flower shop burns down? What if that's the inferno? That would suck. I honestly would feel really, really sorry for Asgore if that happened. Like, I know Asgore is an idiot in regards to Toriel. He really, really needs to think things through a little bit more and realize that, like, look, she's already moved on. Stop stalking her. But yeah, but still, like, I don't think Asgore had, as far as we know, Asgore's done nothing worthy of having his home burned down. So yeah, that would be awful if that happened. And Rubens is here. I'm the best writer in existence. I've created 1 billion works of art, not a single one completed. Actually, no, I did finish the translation from the Imperial to the modern Portuguese. Yes, I remember you were talking about that a while back. Oh no, he made a Toriel shrine out of flowers. I mean, yeah, he might have that down there in his basement. It's very possible. Okay, I'll actually share with you guys what I think is down in the basement. And I thought everybody loved Newbert. I know you would think everybody loves Newbert, but then some douchebag is going to come along and is going to start the Newbert hate because they're actually really jealous of Newbert. I mean, that's what happens to every popular kid eventually. Is that someone comes along who wants the top spot and starts spreading the wicked, evil words and tears down the genuinely wholesome popular kid. I speak from experience. Not that I was the one who did that, but I've seen it happen. You know what? We'll put a pin in that. I've got a sad high school story that I could share in regards to that. But so let's see here. Getting myself back on track. Here's what I think is actually at the bottom of Asgore's shop. Down in his basement. So people talk about how how it's unhealthy that he has that board. And it's kind of hinted at that this board has lots of newspaper articles. And I think that we're right now being led to believe that he has all of these newspaper articles back in his heyday of when everyone loved him, when he was sheriff, when he was living it big with his family and everything was perfect. I think that's what we're being led to believe. I think it's far more likely that what we will find is a spider board. That we're going to find that what he actually has is all yeah, exactly. Matt says I feel it's going to be a theory board. Exactly. He's going to have all of this stuff up in regards to Des's disappearance and what's actually going on in the town. I think Asgore is actually far more competent than what we've been giving him credit for. I think he's actually been doing research. I think he's been looking into what Carol's been doing. I think that he's been trying to understand what's been going on in hometown this whole time. And yeah, as a result of that, he's not been taking care of himself. He's not been running his business like he should. He's either pining after or stalking Toriel, or he's obsessed with his research. And whenever he needs to make sure that the bills are paid or that he gets food, he goes over and helps clean the holiday manor. And so that's what he's been up to. And the reason why I say that, the reason why I think that we're going to find that he has this theory board is because he is genuinely looking for a way to reclaim that, to reclaim his glory, reclaim his spot. He says that he needs to prove. He needs to prove to everyone whatever it is. Very likely whatever happened the night that Des went missing. To show like, hey, look, this is it. This is what happened to Des. This is how we can get Des back, or at least what he thinks. Whatever the little crystal has been, whatever this thing has been telling him, whatever this shard's been telling him, is is misleading him, but he thinks that he's genuinely on the right track. And as far as Chris goes, because Chris obviously doesn't like the idea of this theory board, it's either because Asgore is close or because it's embarrassing that Asgore is kind of it realizes what's going on, but is so far off the path, and that Chris can't bring Asgore in on this, because I really don't think that Asgore is actually in on whatever Carol and Chris have been plotting. There is a possibility that he is. I don't think he is, because his dialogue in the Holiday Manor, if you spy on him, kind of indicates that he's up to his own thing. And as far as the Inferno of Jealousy goes, again, it implies he's acting more on his own rather than as a part of whatever Chris and Carol are up to. Rune says, my current situation, knowing absolutely nothing of Delta and just barely anything of Undertale, despite having played the entirety of Undertale twice. That's an oof. So he's going to be revealed as the Alex Jones of Hometown. Oh, I don't know if we're going to go that far. Yeah, oh my gosh, no, because he would need to have a podcast for that. Also, fun fact: have I ever told you guys the story of a coworker of mine who actually knew Alex Jones before he made it big? It's kind of a silly, dumb story. You guys want to hear it? I can tell it. But like I said, I put a pin into my sad high school story. So my senior year of high school, I was friends with this really cool guy, and honestly, massive kudos to him, because he helped me out when I was in a real funk. His name was Sterling. Sterling was amazing. Sterling was one of the coolest guys I got to know in high school. Even looking back on it, the guy is still just awesome. He comes from like a really cool, comes from just a really cool family as well. And again, he helped me out in a really difficult time. So I love Sterling. Now then, Sterling, coming from a cool family, really chill guy, very handsome, and just a genius at throwing parties. Holy cow, the guy was a genius. So like, if Sterling was going to throw a party or if Sterling was going to do something, people were going to be there. So yeah, Sterling was one of the cool guys in high school. One of the guys that everyone was like, yeah, pinnacle guy right there. Well, one of the girls that he was really interested in decided that the way that she was going to break up with him was by basically ruining him. I don't know why certain people feel that there's a need for, when they break up, to just burn every bridge possible along the way. But that was what this gal did. So she began spreading all kinds of rumors about Sterling, things that he supposedly had been doing, like stalking her, and like aggravating her friends, spying on people, and just doing all kinds of weird stuff. And I'm like, that is so weird, because I'm like anyone who has actually spent time with Sterling would know that that's not him. And what they did, like the coup de grace that brought Sterling crashing down, was that his younger brother, who looked a whole lot like him, actually was stalking a chick, and showed up to some big camp howdy do, and and he was there stalking her, spying her on this other girl. And from far away, he and Sterling look exactly alike. And so Sterling's now ex-girlfriend was like, okay, well, this is perfect. So she said, oh, that was Sterling. He was here to spy on me. He was probably trying to break into my cabin and take my stuff. And because Sterling was not there to defend him, everyone tore into him. I was out of town for that particular week. When I came back into town, I was just all like, life is normal. Hey, Sterling. And it's like, so when are we going to hang out with everyone? He's like, there is no everyone. Everyone's gone. And yeah, this other girl had like absolutely tarnished his reputation. All the rumors were going around. No one wanted to spend time with Sterling. And I got to paint a nice target on my back because I'm like, I'll still hang out with you. And yeah, that was the end of that was around the end of my senior year, getting a social target painted on my back because I hung out with the cool kid that got destroyed by a rumor. So sad high school story complete. I'm so sorry I had to go. As we were getting into it. What did I miss? You missed me talking about how I think that Asgore has a theory board underneath his home or underneath the flower shop, and that he actually is on to something of what's going on with the Dark World, is probably misled, and there's a chance that maybe the flower shop is going to get burned down because there is the Inferno. So, okay, YouTube, how does the rankings work? I literally texted like 10 chats, and I'm number 3, and I'm the guy who's texted way more and isn't even on top 3. I don't know. YouTube rankings don't make any sense. Art says, Carol's letting Asgore do his own detective work as a distraction to make him feel better, while Chris and Carol do the real work of trying to bring Des back. I think that Art's, you and I are thinking along the same wavelength. I think that's what's going on. Asgore is Matt Pat? Yes. Asgore is the Matt Pat. So Asgore's not the Alex Jones of of Deltarune. He's the Matt Pat of Deltarune, because Asgore and Matt Pat are both lovable dorks. Though I think Asgore's probably more squishable than Matt Pat is. So yeah, wow. It's amazing. It's amazing what debunking the Berdly dialogue has taken us on. Over almost 40 whole minutes of theory crafting and stuff. It's great. It's great. So thank you to the person who stole. Thank you to the person who stole dialogue from Pokemon and tried to pass it off as dialogue for Berdly, because it generated a great conversation. Oh, geez, sad for that dude. Yeah, that was sad. That was a sad way to end high school. Man, I was so happy to go to college, just get away from it all. And my freshman year of college was great. It was great. I paid for it my senior year because I took 2 less classes my freshman year than I should have, which meant that in my senior year, I had to take a full flipping schedule to make up for everything. Oh boy. Oh, I double majored as well. It sucks to be working on 2 capstone projects for your 2 majors in the same semester while doing a full schedule. Oh, oh man. Actually, though, I will say this. Even though I didn't get much sleep that semester, that was actually still a pretty fun semester, because I got to do research into how Hollywood helped to craft the American myth of the 1930s and 1940s, and I centered it specifically on the image of the American hero, which was really, really cool. It was a really neat. It was a really neat rabbit hole to go down, and I got to watch movies. I got to justify watching movies for homework. It was great. And then for my German capstone, I read this absolutely ancient tome. And when I say tome, it was a tome. I found this huge, like leather, maybe human skin bound ancient book in German that was like written in what they call Alte Schrift. So it's an old style of text that you don't see anymore. It's kind of close to how old English looks, but it's way more elegant and weird. And if you show it to people who are not used to it, it seriously looks like you're reading something that's written in runes. So I got to read ancient poetry written in what people think are runes, and it was pretty cool. Anyways, Marilad says, I wonder if Susie becomes jealous or something of Noelle after figuring out the girl from the prophecy isn't her but Noelle. There's a possibility. That would be very interesting to see that as a twist, if indeed that is going to be the case. Art says, who else will make that statement about the frogs? LOL. Wait. Which frogs? Or are we talking frogs from the Apothecary Diaries, or am I missing something? Oh no, I'm lost. Anyways, now I'm lost. I'm confused after frogs. Marilette, I'm going to save my full thoughts for my theory video on Friday. I'm just going to say, I think that by the end of chapter 5, it's not going to be that Susie is the jealous one of Noelle, but I think it's going to be that a lot of people are more jealous of Chris or of Susie. And that it's going to lead to misunderstandings, specifically with a character like Noelle. And we'll see, and we'll see what comes out of that. It's just a theory, a game theory. Since you're not here, Pat, I had to do it. But yeah, I'll be saving all of that for Friday. Oh, I got a lot of work to do. Okay, so I think that's a pretty good place to cap the conversation about Deltarune. Since we then had the votes to do the lesson, let's dive into the lesson. I think you guys will enjoy this one. Know the mile markers of romance. Ah, yes, romance. Because we're in the month of Valentine's. Alex Jones makes the statement about the frogs. You know what? I don't know many comments from Alex Jones. I think the one thing I've ever heard from Alex Jones that really stuck was actually something he stole from Rush Limbaugh about Democrats being vampires on Mars. And I was like, what? And I switched to something else. I don't even know what I'm listening to at this point. Oh yeah, quick thing. So before Alex Jones really became popular, he was a commentator at a rather local radio station in Texas. One of my old coworkers worked at the exact same radio station, and so she tangentially worked with Alex Jones. Her boyfriend at the time, who was one of the DJs, really despised Alex Jones, and Alex Jones really hated him back. So the two of them settled their differences by having a fight in the parking lot right in front of the radio station, and Alex Jones got knocked out and had to get taken to the hospital. So there you go. There's the one Alex Jones story that I know from a person that I used to work with. All right. So, Marilad's going to head on out. Well, Marilad, if you got to wake up early tomorrow, you got to do what you got to do. Thank you so much for being here with us tonight. And you can always come on back to check out the writing lesson and everything else that we're going to discuss. So, our goal for tonight is this. We will discuss the concept of mile markers for writing romance. It's so easy to get lost in the details of writing any sort of romantic arc, especially getting your characters from point A, which is like the meet cute, or the enemies before the enemies to lovers whole thing gets executed, or however you're setting up these characters to eventually fall for each other. You want it from point A, however they meet, however it all gets set up, it's all the way to point Z. And point Z is, well, whatever you want the story, wherever you want them to be when the story ends. Did they get together and then break up? Does the story end with them holding hands and skipping off into the sunset? Is point Z them having a kiss? Is point Z them boinking? Who knows? Not sure about the context behind that quote. They're making the frogs gay. Oh boy, I haven't heard that in one forever. Anywho's, and there's a reason why this channel only cares about fictional politics, because real world politics is already messy enough as it is. We don't need to get into that. So, coming back to it, I have talked about this particular concept in quite a few videos, but I don't believe I have ever done actually a dedicated lesson to mile markers, specifically mile markers when it comes to romance. So that way we're all on the same. That way we're all on the same page in regards to what mile markers are. There you go. There's a mile marker. Oh my gosh! Epstein's alive in Israel. Oh boy. Anyism. So mile markers. These nifty additions to roads and to trails. I love it when trails actually have mile markers. It's really, really nice. Mile markers help you to know where you are at anywhere along your journey. I'm at mile 328. That way you know that you are 328 miles from the border, or either from the central city or the capital of your state or of your nation, what have you. These mile markers are actually critical, especially for like emergency response. If you get stranded out in the middle of nowhere, you can look around and be like, "Oh, hey, I'm at mile 57 on I-23. Can you please come pick me up?" Or he's like, "Oh my gosh, there was an accident on at mile 200. There's now like a really bad backup and yada yada yada." These mile markers are very, very handy because it helps you again to know your exact location. Because there's no notable landmarks, like, hey, I'm right next to Baldy Peak. Unless you're next to like Baldy Peak or the old theater that everyone knows, or the really creepy oak tree that devours people every Halloween, which everyone knows. Unless you have a very notable landmark, mile markers help you know where you're at. And even if you do have a very notable landmark, the mile marker, again, is really good at helping to pinpoint exactly where you are. It makes sense of where you are in relation to that landmark. The same thing holds true for stories. There are mile marker moments in every story, or there should be, that help to make sense of where the story is going, where you have been, how things are progressing. If you don't have those, not only is it easy for the audience to get lost, but it's also easy for you as the writer to get lost, unless you know where you are going and where you've been. So the mile marker concept is very important. Let's think of it real quick in just kind of like big terms for a story before we start talking about romance. Let's think about mile markers in terms of your plot. So I'm just pulling this right out of the ether. And I would even suggest this, like make some notes about your own mile markers for your own stories. So some of our big mile markers for a story. Boy wakes up one day to find that there's a wizard's hat lying on his chest in bed. And he's like, "This is very clearly a wizard's hat." Puts on the wizard's hat, begin and suddenly has magical powers. Oh, this is cool. Goes out casting spells. Next mile marker. No one else can see him casting spells. And it's like, oh my gosh, this hat's making me crazy. Oh no, what did I put on? What is there's drugs in the hat? Kid wearing hat, next mile marker. Kid wearing hat suddenly sees spectral creatures wandering around the village. And then, despite the fact that no one can see these creatures or see him cast spells, bad things, really bad things start happening to people in town. So, there's your next big mile marker. Mile marker after that is boy decides he's going to look ridiculous and he's going to go out and he's going to cast his spells and save the town. And so you have these mile markers right here that help to make sense of where the story's going. In between those mile markers, you introduce the boy, you describe the hat, you describe what the spells look like, you describe how the townsfolk deride him and make fun of him, how his family's embarrassed because he's now the laughingstock. You will describe what these spectral creatures look like. You describe the horrible things that they do to people. You describe the fear and the confusion. So, like, all of this stuff is happening, but the descriptions of the fear and the confusion, the descriptions of the spells, the description of the shamed family, the embarrassed family, those aren't mile markers. That is the fluff. That is the information that helps to make the story come to life. Your mile markers are those big moments that show how the story is progressing. So that way, if you relate to anyone else what's happening in the story, you can hit those big moments. If you have to put the book down or you have to shut off the show and you come back later on, you're going to be like, yes, I was right at the point where everyone was making fun of the kid because they don't see his spells. That's my mile marker. And you go looking for it. That is what I mean. It's pretty straightforward. This is something that we kind of implicitly do already within our stories. But what I want us to do, moving on to the next parts, is I want us to think about that in regards to writing romance and why that matters. Specifically because the mile markers show us how the romance is developing. That's actually one of the trickier things when it comes to writing romance. Because people can be all like, oh yes, they kiss. Oh, they shared glances. They blush. What have you. Yes, that gives us a lot of information, but and to hop on over back to Deltarune for a brief moment. So if like thinking about why these mile markers, for instance, are important. I recently got a comment from someone saying, Cruzy ain't going to happen. Susie never blushes around Chris except for this one moment. And Susie's blushed all the time around Noelle. Therefore Susie likes Noelle. Boom, your argument's invalid, Lars. And true. This is a big moment. And on top of that, this is an optional moment that you have to go looking for in order to get the good, sweet Cruzy moments. However, that is if you look at it in absolute isolation. When you have the mile markers in place, it all starts making more sense. Remember that Chris and Susie started off as enemies in the beginning of chapter 1. The big mile marker for the two of them, mile 1, is Susie threatening to bite off Chris's face. Then mile marker number 2, I would argue, is meeting up with Ralsei, learning about the prophecy and that they have to work together as a team. Susie says, heck to that. And then we move on from there. The mile markers of having to actually work together with Susie. Susie leaving the party. Susie coming back together with the party. Chris saving Susie. Within that first chapter, we get to see the arc of enemies to friends. From that point on, there are other little mile markers all over the place that show that there's a developing relationship between Chris and Susie. if you're paying attention. And Susie actually blushes in regards to things that Chris has said and done. Not as often as she has blushed around Noelle, but those same expressions are there. So suddenly it becomes confusing. All this blushing, who does Susie like? And this is, of course, where the polycule ship comes in. It's like, Susie's got 2 hands. Susie can have both. Uh-huh. Okay, fair. People can ship what they want to ship. But as I will always contend, a polyamorous ship actually requires more work than just any 2 characters getting brought together, regardless of their orientation. And Deltarune does not have the time to develop a true polycule relationship between Chris, Noelle, and Susie, not without setting the entire story aside, especially with so much that's now been dropped on us thanks to chapters 3 and 4. So it really is a question of, who does Susie like? Chris, Noelle, Berdly? Highly unlikely. The mile markers are there for Cruzy, and there's so many of them that you can trace how that relationship has evolved across 4 chapters, making it a very viable ship. Without those mile markers, yeah, Susie blushes more when she's around Noelle, therefore Susie likes Noelle. Case closed. Until you look at the mile markers. Because the mile markers muddle that story and say, could actually swing the other way. And that's why mile markers are so important, especially when it comes to romance. Because if you just write characters as blushy, blushy, ooh, yay, does that really mean anything? The honest answer is, it actually doesn't. Actually doesn't. You need concrete evidence that shows why characters are growing close, why and how they are developing feelings for each other, and why their relationship works as a result. And we're actually going to put this into practice, and I hope that you will see what I mean by that once we really start getting into the weeds of this. So you can think about these mile markers, for instance, as the moment that one of them realizes that they've got feelings for the other. Maybe one of the big mile markers is that they have a bad argument that they both feel really bad about. One of the mile markers could be the first kiss. I want you guys to write for me in the chat. Are there any other mile markers that come to mind? And it's actually perfect that I posit that question, and I really want to see what you guys think. What other mile markers could there be in a romance? Because I got to quickly let a cat out of the office. Be free, fat cats. Be free. Are you going to come in, Daisy, or are you just going to mess with Honey? Daisy's going to go mess with Honey. All right. And no input. Oh, come on, guys. I just let a cat out. I let a cat out of the bag to give you a chance to put in some stuff. All right. So TV Count says people need to understand that you need more than just blushing to show in a romantic plot. Exactly. But what are some of those other things that you could have, like hand holding, for something they hand hold? Or a good, or maybe another good one to think about would be the first time Lucid says I'm struggling. That's okay. That's what all of this is about, to help us out here. So maybe some others that you could think of in terms of, okay, so what actually brings these characters together. You could start off with the very first one being the meet cute. Characters meet for the first time and realize there's something special there. There you go, the meet cute. Art says, sorry, I was distracted. Don't worry, I understand. Keys were distracting me. Tican says that's how more wired and out there ships end up in shipping communities. Ah, yes, yes. When they're just like, oh, they glanced at each other. Hooray, they like each other. And Lucid says, yeah, let them have fun together. Exactly. I'll say this for the book I'm going to hopefully release here really soon, Tower of Seers. There's a date scene. There are even not just a date scene, but a whole like date chapter in that book, which honestly like even with context it seems rather silly, but you've just got these teenagers who are trying to figure out their feelings, and so they go on a little magical date, and it really is kind of silly, but that's kind of the point because they're just having fun. And by having fun, these two characters have an honest conversation that my hope is that once you get to the end of that chapter, you're all like, yeah, no, I'm rooting for the two of you to get together. You're just having fun. You can talk. Your conversation, you got inside jokes and everything. This is great. Huzzah. But get together already. Art says friends that get comfortable with one another over time, and one of them realizes they want something more out of the relationship. So yeah, so that could be like a mile marker right there. You got two characters. Again, because Deltarune's on the brain, Chris and Susie. Or suddenly Susie's all like, you know what? Chris is a great friend. But what if we were more than just friends? That's so embarrassing. Oh, they flirt with everyone. But what if they only flirted with me? Susie turns and looks at Chris, and Chris behind their impassive face is just all like, it's about time. Mile marker moment right there. So we've got some ideas going on there. Haven't let characters have fun with each other, a meet cute, friends getting comfortable with each other, one friend suddenly realizing that they would like to have a little bit more out of the relationship. Those are good mile markers. Now then, here is what I would suggest when you're thinking about developing a relationship within your story, a romantic relationship. I want you to think of at least 10 important moments. Now then, it isn't like, oh, I need 10, and if I have 10, everything will work out. That's not what I'm saying. But rather that you've got 10 important moments that you can say, this will happen, this will happen, this will happen, this will happen. Because this happened, because A happened, B happens. Because B happened, C happened. Because C happened, D happened. And this helps to lead up to the relationship. So to let's see here. Oh man. Because I'm thinking of some of my own stories right now, and I'm just all like, oh, do I spoil any of my own stories? Actually, you know what? We'll spoil. Let's do a little bit of spoiling. We'll do a little bit of spoiling for Bleed, Steam, and Steel, which is already out. So if this is interesting to you as I read it, then you can go on ahead and you can buy a copy and read the whole thing. Hey. Art says, Susie does try to flirt with Chris a few times. The first in chapter 2, with the flames down the pipe. Yes, she is absolutely flirting with Chris at that point. Chapter 3 with the hair sniffing. And chapter 4, she outright admits to Noelle she should take lessons from Chris. Yep. If I take flirting lessons from Chris, I will be able to express feelings to Chris. Exactly. We see what's going on here. We see the subtlety, Toby. Okay. So, let's see here. To go a little bit into my own book, Bleed, Steam, and Steel, to set up the romance between two characters, Zimon and Celestine. So Zimon is the spy master of the city and nation of London, and and Celestine is a foreign girl who is there for what is called the Call. The King of London has put out a call to the whole world to send their greatest soldiers to London for a grand war. What this war is, no one actually knows. They think that they know, but really it's all a diversion. Ha ha ha. Read the book to find out more. In any case, Celestine has come with the people of her island, the island of Cisalona, in order to participate in the call. She's not going to fight herself, but she's there with her cousins to find some eligible bachelors. Oh ho ho. Well, the very first time that they meet is at a party for the Crown Prince Victor of London. However, at the party, there is an assassination attempt on the prince, which Zemon helps in preventing. He himself even participates in it. And while everyone's freaking out as the bullets are flying and everything, Celestine, she sees him. She pays, and she's all like, a guy in a wheelchair rushing into the fight to save the prince. I gotta know more. So there's your very first moment. Zemon saves the prince during an assassination attempt. Celestine sees. Celestine wants to know more. And then, let's see here. Let me get to... as I'm trying to find the correct page for their next encounter. Art says, chapter 5, she'll probably say, I tried to flirt with you. I want that. I want to see that. I want to see I want to see Susie actually bring that up and just watch how that all goes down. That'll be something. Okay, I am not yet there. How am I not yet there? Okay, here is the second meeting of Zemon and Celestine. So again, Zemon saves the prince, and she takes notice. Zemon awoke to a ruckus of shouting and commotion. He squeezed his eyes shut, wishing that he could slumber a little bit longer. His head throbbed, his side ached, and his muscles were sore from so much movement and tension only a few hours before. Ringing a bell would have sufficed, he grumbled, forcing his eyes open. Wondering how long he slept after last night's excitement, Zemon began gathering information. He first recognized the scraping sound of a chair. Then there were the servants saying someone was like catching a winter storm. Another person shouted about spilled tea. He smelled a foul odor and knew it was spilled wine and sweat from the prince's party. What he didn't recognize was the cute, dark face smiling at him. Lord Hero, your staff does not mirror the man, she said with a laugh. And there you have the very next moment. Celestine snuck into Zemon's room while he slept and is waiting for him to wake up so that way she can tease him. From there, she demands that they spend time together, and so they have a horse ride. So there's one moment where he's all like, okay, this woman's really weird and crazy, but she showed up. She's probably dangerous. Don't know what to make of her. And then she accompanies him to watch a joust. And so at that point, he's like, okay, this girl really does want to be around me. And from there, it just continues on. There are plenty of moments between Zemon and Celestine. So as far as like those moments go, it's not just simply blushing, hand holding, we're having fun. Some of those big mile markers are Zemon saves the prince, catches the eye of Celestine. Second mile marker, Celestine sneaks into Zemon's room and waits for him to wake up. Third mile marker, Celestine and Zemon go on a horse ride. Fourth mile marker, Zemon and Celestine go to a joust and talk. So you have all of those different moments that give these two characters opportunities to talk, to develop a relationship that begins rather weirdly, if we're going to be totally honest, and develops into romance. Arts also writes, Chapter 1, she tries to flirt but fails miserably, and all this time she tries to admit defeat in Chapter 4. Gosh. She tries but admits defeat in Chapter 4. Oh, man, poor Susie in flirting. Just say what you want. Just say what you want other people to say to you. You're unbanned from ham sandwich. You go, Susie. I mean, we could easily populate this whole page with moments between Chris and Susie that show that there is not just simply a strong friendship between the two of them, but a developing romance. Which, again, the kind of the fun thing about Cruzy is that it's enemies to friends, and then from friends to romantic partners. Hey, yo. But moving on from Deltarune, let's try this. Let's map out a romance beginning with Tangled. So in the chat, I want to hear from you guys. What are the steps? What are the mile markers that lead to Rapunzel and Flynn Rider, or as we then get to know him, Eugene? How do these two fall for each other? And I'll already help you out with mile marker number 1. So number 1, Eugene sneaks into Rapunzel's tower and gets knocked out. She hides the crown and interrogates him. So there we have our very first mile marker. Yes, there's details that lead up to why Rapunzel's in the tower and why Eugene goes to the tower. All of that's important. But for the romantic journey that the two of them go on, that is where it begins. That is their meeting. It's not a meet cute, because she's not like, oh, cute man, and he's not like, oh, beautiful woman. But he's just like, oh boy, repressed girl who's never been outside, who's tying me up with really weird hair. This is creepy. I just want to get out of here with my crown. And she's all like, guy from the outside who has knowledge about the outside world. I can ask him questions. So we go from there. What would you say are the next big mile markers on the journey of Rapunzel and Eugene falling in love with each other? So I want to hear some of the next mile markers of their journey together there in the chats. Since this is a movie that most people should have seen or at least heard about, it should be a little bit easier then for us to pull out these mile markers. Fire Funtime says, is this about how some people think Glitch is pumping out indie slop? Oh, we haven't yet gotten to that, Fire Funtime. But we will get there. We'll get there after the lesson. We've talked about the fake dialogue reveal for Berdly, and now we are in our writing lesson for doing mile markers for writing romance. And I agree with you. Those people are crazy. And it'll be pretty easy to address the whole AI slop thing. But it's something that, yeah, it should be talked about. But in any case, what we're doing right now is we are trying to accumulate a list of mile markers for how Rapunzel and Eugene's relationship evolves from what it is at their very first meeting. Mile marker number 1, Eugene sneaks into Rapunzel's tower and gets knocked out. She hides the crown and interrogates him. What then goes from there to help us understand how their relationship becomes a romantic one and leads to them getting married? Because again, this is where writers, believe it or not, this is where writers kind of get lost, where they kind of suffer. Because we know where we want our characters to end up romantically. But getting them there can oftentimes be more tricky than you believe or than that you expect, because of how stories change as you write. And if you haven't thought about why they get together and how they get together, it's very easy to get lost in the details and make it where the relationship just seems kind of flat. Now, as I've been talking, I've been hoping for some more mile markers. I'm not seeing those mile markers, people. And it's a wee bit disappointing. If we were in a true classroom setting, I'd be calling out names. Like TV account, I need mile marker number 2. Arts, I need mile marker number 3. This is Star Mellors. I need mile marker number 4. Fun time. I need mile marker number 5. Oh, I'm on number 5. Oh man, see, this is why doing writing lessons online is just so it's difficult. You definitely get better participation in a classroom setting. Not that I'm trying. Is Lars in auction mode? Kind of. My hope is, but I'm not seeing it, seeing the mile markers that you guys would give me for Tangled. I says I was missing. Give me something. My mind stagnates. Give me problems. Give me work. So I'll give you guys number 2. I'll give you guys mile marker number 2 for this relationship. Mile marker number 2 is the agreement between Eugene and Rapunzel to leave the tower, and then they go. The reason why this is such a big mile marker is, so mile marker number 1 is them meeting up in the first place. Mile marker number 2 is them leaving the tower with that arrangement. The reason being is because that arrangement will drive so much of what happens throughout the movie. You will take me to where the lanterns are. It's a transactional agreement. You take me to where the lanterns are, where the lanterns come from. I will give you back the crown. So they go. And Rapunzel is immediately just distraught, having disobeyed Mother Gothel, and it's awful. And Ryder's like, yeah, you should go back up to your tower. And she's like, no, I will not go back up to my tower until I find out where the lanterns come from. And that's a big deal because it shows just how serious she is about going through with this, which now means there's no getting out of it. These two will be stuck at the hip for most of the journey now going forward. So that we've now gotten a reason as to how and why the two of them are together. TV count's correct. Number 3 is the Snuggly Duckling. Oh, such a great scene. I says Rapunzel tells Mother Gothel about her dream to see the lantern rides. So I see what you're saying right there by mile marker number 1. That would work out really well for Rapunzel's own personal arc. Her personal arc begins when she tells Mother Gothel that she wants to go see the lanterns. But as far as the romance between Rapunzel and Eugene goes, mile marker number 1 is their meeting. Like, obviously, her wanting to see the lanterns and her confrontation with Mother Gothel and him stealing the crown are absolutely essential to them getting to meet up in the first place. But that is more about the plot and their own personal journey, separate of their romance. Oh yeah, so no worries, no worries. Say what you said right there, though. That is good, and that's something to bear in mind. Like what you brought out. That is the beginning of Rapunzel's own personal arc, and this is actually what makes Tangled work so well as a story. Yes, it's a romance, but also Eugene grows as a person and Rapunzel grows as a person, not just because they fall in love, but because of the journeys they go on, not just together, but separately. So you bringing that up is very important. And that's something, again, that we think about as writers. Where are my characters, generally speaking? Because it's not just about relationships. Relationships are important, but where are they personally on their own arcs? We need to have mile markers for those as well, and mile markers for the plot. All of these mile markers help to ground us in where the story is. So, number 1, meeting, the interrogation, the crown gets hidden. Number 2, escaping the tower, and Rapunzel stealing her nerve and metal to go to the to go to where the lanterns are, and Eugene's like, fine, I gotta go with you. Then the Snuggly Duckling. And oh, it's such a great song. I love it. Oh, I have dreams like you, yes, really, just not so touchy-feely. Then from the Snuggly Duckling, we then have number 4. I'll give you guys this one, the escape from the Snuggly Duckling. So number 4, escape the Snuggly Duckling. Then from there, something very important happens. Something very, very important happens for both Rapunzel and for Eugene right after escaping the Snuggly Duckling. And I know this is me asking you to dredge up this information from the movie. I don't know when the last time was that you saw it. It's actually been a while for me. But what comes after that for Rapunzel and Eugene? Also, I have just to say, it's got one of the best expressions from Pascal that happens during that specific scene. And it's also, give another hint, it's also a scene that in retrospect proves that Eugene has always been a good man deep down, because he doesn't take advantage of Rapunzel in light of what happens in mile marker number 5. Let's see if you guys know it. Now, Art's saying I gotta say good night. See you guys later. Well, Arts, thank you so much for joining us tonight, and I hope you have a great night. Let's see if you guys. Maybe it's unfair because it's unfair. I should have already said. Maybe I should, or let me rephrase that. Maybe I should have said, okay, everyone, your homework for this week is you got to watch Tangled. You also have to reread all of Harry Potter, and you have to rewatch Shrek. Then you'll be able to participate in tonight's discussion. Hey. If you guys can't, I mean, in the interest of moving things along, the 5th mile marker for Rapunzel and Eugene is that Rapunzel shows off the power of her hair by healing Eugene's hand after the whole violent debacle of escaping the Snuggly Duckling. It's important because this is Rapunzel really opening up, sharing something very important and special about her, something that she has been told her whole life long is the reason why she needs to be in the tower, because people will steal the power of her hair, but Eugene doesn't. On top of that, Eugene learns about what happens should you cut her hair, because that's when she reveals to him about the cut lock that that Mother Gothel told her someone else took, but that we as the audience know Mother Gothel had tried to take back when she was just a baby. So that's very important for the very end. A very, very important mile marker, number 5. Number 6 is they get there. They get to the city of Corona. They participate in the festival. Rapunzel gets to have the absolute time of her life and everything. So that's number 6. Number 7, in terms of big mile markers, is the whole song when they're singing, "And at last I see the light." And that's when she reveals, like, and I'm going to give you back the crown and everything. And he's like, you know what? Ooh. Nope. I'm getting ahead of myself right here. Because in order to set that up, it's important to note that another important mile marker before number 6, actually number 6, should be Mother Gothel showing up with the crown and having the reprise of Mother Knows Best and saying, test him with this crown. And so she's like, I will test him. Number 7, their day in Corona, it's beautiful. Number 8, the song "At Last I See the Light." and we see from their music that they're both falling for each other. And she gives him the crown, and he's letting me all like, yeah, no, he's like, I am going to be with you. Like he's ready to change his ways. But then, of course, as we know, he gets caught. And so after the end of that, like the next big mile marker is that everything seems to fall apart. It looks as if Flynn is running off with the crown, abandoning her and Mother Gothel, then beats up the two guys that are going to kidnap Rapunzel for her hair, takes Rapunzel back to the tower. The next mile markers after that are Flynn breaking out of prison in order to go save Rapunzel, and Rapunzel resisting Mother Gothel because she's been to the outside world, she can piece everything together, and she realizes Mother Gothel's the one who is really the real monster who kidnapped me. The final mile marker is Eugene coming to save Rapunzel and saving her by cutting her hair. So that way her ties to Mother Gothel are completely cut. And then, of course, Rapunzel sings and cries once, and that heals Flynn one final time, and they somehow make it down the tower. Yeah, question. How do we organize the different mile markers, like for character, main plot, and subplot? Excellent question, TV account. Excellent question. So let's continue to take Tangled. First we should think about the main plot. Main plot of the movie is Rapunzel with her magic hair has been kidnapped by Mother Gothel, and she must get back home. That's the plot. That, like, boil it down to its most basic, that's the plot. So what are the main mile markers? Mile marker number 1. There's the drop that falls from the sun. Like the whole opening. So the drop that falls from the sun, the magical flower, the queen is sick, needs the flower, leads to Rapunzel being born and having her magical hair. Mother Gothel kidnaps her. You can break all that down to like really distinct mile markers, but basically, because it's the huge opening montage, you could say that all of that is one big mile marker. Next mile marker is Rapunzel wanting to go to see the lanterns in person and not just from her tower. Mother Gothel tells her no. Mother knows best. Next mile marker, Flynn steals the crown. Next marker, Flynn meets Rapunzel. And what you'll realize by me saying this is I'm just now giving the movie beat for beat all the major moments. Those are your mile markers for your main plot. Your main plot is every important thing that happens in the story, no matter if it has a certain character in it or not. Like in my series, The Legend of the Ten Lords, Ben and Jessica are the main characters. But as the series progresses, there become more and more chapters and scenes that Ben and Jessica have no part in. But those are still very important moments of the books. So the main plot mile markers are every important thing that must happen in your plot. Those are your mile markers for the plot. And what I would say is this. So if you want to organize this, you would have a sheet of paper. Take out a sheet of paper and write down plots. So it'd be like plots. And then you would then for your characters, you'd be like, okay, then understand the arcs of all my characters. So I got Ben. Then I got Jessica. And so basically what I would do is I would, like what I'm putting right here into the chat, plot, colon, then have a column. Have a column for all the important things that happen in the plot of my story. Ben, colon, column. Every important thing that needs to happen for Ben in the story. This is me putting in the mile markers for his personal character arc. Same for Jessica, the same for a character like World Eater. Move down. Subplots, the exact same thing. Subplot, you write down subplot, or you have a specific idea or title for your subplot, colon, column. Every important thing that must happen in that subplot, that's a mile marker. And so once you have that broken down, you can then visualize as you're kind of going down each column, that's the road. Each hash or each bullet point is a mile marker going down the road, showing you what must happen in order for that character to grow or for the plot to progress. And what you should do is not just simply throw out, oh yeah, this happens, then this happens, and of course this is going to happen. Put it in chronological order. So put all the bullet points for your characters, plots, and so forth in chronological order. That will give you your progression. And you can do that with any story. Piece of paper, break it down to columns, plot, main characters. Each main character has their own column. Subplot has its own column. Write down in chronological order what needs to happen. That gives you your mile markers. So that TV account is what I would do. Simple, easy, nothing too crazy. And it allows you to then see, you know what, maybe I actually need something else between points 6 and 7, because that just seems like too much of a leap. Follow-up question. What should they look like, the mile markers? Anything. Mile markers within a story can be anything. So, like, for instance, with Tangled, big mile marker. Rapunzel's like, it's like, Mama, I want to go see the stars. I want to go see the lanterns. And then the whole mother knows best. And golly, I need something else between 6 and 7. Oh my gosh. I didn't realize I set myself up for that. Thank you, ISO. Mother Knows Best, a whole song. Like, that's one of the big mile markers. The song Mother Knows Best. Then the next big mile marker after that in terms of the plot is a heist. Flynn's with the other guys stealing the crown. Then after that, a really humorous mile marker is Flynn being in Rapunzel's tower with the crown. He's like, alone at last. And then he gets clubbed over the head with a frying pan. Shenaniganery and interrogation ensues. The reason why I call them mile markers is because they are the important moments that really ground people in the story and let people know where you are in the story. So, like, let's see here. Let's use another example. Let's use something big, like Pokemon. First season of Pokemon. And if someone's like, man, I'm watching the first season of Pokemon. Oh, sweet, where are you at? Ash caught a Pokemon. That tells us nothing. Ash doesn't catch as many Pokemon as we think he does, but he does catch quite a few Pokemon. Which Pokemon? And like, oh, well, actually, Ash didn't catch a Pokemon. He recruited Haunter. Oh, I know exactly where you're at. He has been beaten by Sabrina, and he's got to go back and beat Sabrina in order to save his friends. Got it. Okay, so you're with Haunter now. Oh, such a great Pokemon. So you kind of, like, should I write it in bullets in a list, or should I just have it messy mind map to sort it out later? TV account, no messy mind map, bullet points. And as I put right there, put it all in bullet points and do it in chronological order. That is how you should lay it out. Like, the messiness, elaborating, more notes, that's what you do to build on all of that. But for creating the roadmap, for having your mile markers, it needs to be organized. If you do just a messy mind map, it's not going to work out for you. At least that is not going to give you your mile markers. 6, MC gets humbled. 7, MC changed his life entirely. Would you like to buy some death sticks? You don't want to sell me death sticks. I don't want to sell you death sticks. You're going to go home and rethink your life. I'm going to go home and rethink my life. All right, and so we've had our time there with Rapunzel. And now then, allow me to show you with a contrasting example why you need good mile markers. So, the movies actually did Ron and Hermione a solid. It did their relationship a real solid by giving us moments where it was clear that they were being more flirtatious or that they have feelings for each other. If you go off of the books, again, the books, you don't realize that Ron is jealous until the middle of the fourth book. But even then, you can actually interpret it as Ron's just jealous because Hermione gets to hang out with Victor Crumb. Like, it's not even implied that it's really romantic jealousy. More just like Ron as the wizard, as the one person who's actually grown up in the wizarding world out of the trio of friends, and the one who actually understands Quidditch. Why isn't he with the cool Quidditch guy? Why is it Hermione, who doesn't even like Quidditch? And that's no fair. It's very easy to interpret it that way. When you look at the relationship of Ron and Hermione, if we were to put mile markers for a romance between them, it actually has to go to the fourth book. Having read all of the books multiple times, I can tell you this. There is no concrete evidence of any romantic inclinations between Ron and Hermione until the fourth book, and that is only if you want to see it. And this is a big problem because J.K. Rowling herself even admitted that she was even thinking that maybe that Harry would actually be the one to get together with Hermione. So actually, there are way more in terms of romantic mile markers between Harry and Hermione until you get to book 6. And that's one of the reasons why when we get to the end of book 7, it's like, okay, yeah, so Ron and Hermione are together, but it feels forced. Like these two have just been smooshed together like a clumsily conceived of ship. Wouldn't it just be nice if Ron and Hermione got together? Oh man, I ship them so hard. They're just so cute together. The idiot Ginger with the smart Muggleborn. Oh, my beating heart. That's basically how it comes across. I saw it. 6. MC challenges the mentor. Gets his beaten. 7. Leaves his mentor in shame. Flees from his embarrassment to get stronger. That's my story. Awesome. There you have it. Big mile marker moments right there. For the character and for the plots in general. In at least those two beats. So if I were to break this down for Ron and Hermione. So big mile marker number 1, and they've already fought and they've had everything. That is actually way more friendship based, which true. If we wanted to map out everything for Ron and Hermione, then yes, their friendship, which eventually leads to their romance, begins in the first book with their meeting on the train. Mile marker number 1 right there. Which is also a very important mile marker for Ron, since that's his introduction to the story and the relationship, the great friendship between Ron and Harry. Boom. And which for Harry, that's like mile marker number 20 in the story of Harry Potter. So as far as like the romantic mile markers, the moment where you suddenly realize, oh, maybe there's something there, number 1 would be when Ron is jealous that Hermione is going with Victor Crumb to the Yule Ball. So that is... So that is really the first big mile marker as far as these two romantics, as far as their romantic relationship is concerned. The crazy thing is that you would think, okay, once the ball gets rolling, oh boy, we're going to start going. But then it doesn't. Throughout the rest of the fourth book, there's really nothing to suggest that Ron and Hermione are becoming any more than just friends. When Ron joins Hermione for the whole like house elf uprising that she tries to begin and absolutely fails, he's there really to make fun of her and not to be all like, oh my gosh, I love you, Hermione, you're just the absolute best. And she's like, I love having my sweet, sexy Ginger next to me. Not even close. Not even close. What you then get for the next big mile marker would be in book 6, when it is clear that Ron is specifically trying to save Hermione from the Death Eaters. Like, there's other people that he should be worried about, including himself, but it's clear that he's trying to help save Hermione. So it's like, oh, okay, I kind of see it. Then number 3, Hermione gets jealous when Lavender Brown kisses Ron. And that's then in book 6. And so, as we begin plotting this out right here, like, these are just brief moments in the grand scheme of things. And these 3 mile markers, as far as anything romantic between the two of them is concerned, are across 3 books. Really, whatever their relationship is gets kind of kicked off, I say, in book 6, and then is very clumsily explored and rushed in book 7. As a result, it doesn't feel like Ron and Hermione really earned their love for each other. I gotta let a cat in. Yes, honey, scratching up the floor. Shouldn't do that, fat cat. Come on, move. When honey wants in, she wants in. All right, so this is when I begin laying this out right here, and I point out that these 3 mile markers happen across 3 books, it becomes easier to see why Ron and Hermione's relationship feels rushed and forced, especially in comparison to not even a well-executed relationship like Harry and Ginny. Like, J.K. Rowling, it's kind of funny. A lot of people like to rat on J.K. Rowling for all different kinds of elements in her writing. I'll be honest, J.K. Rowling is actually a better writer than most people give her credit for, especially for her Harry Potter franchise. But one thing that J.K. Rowling did a horrible job of writing is writing a believable romance between teenagers. She really didn't do a good job. Her best foray into it is Harry and Cho. Like, that actually feels way more real and realistic. It's just sad that it's a tragedy. Oh, man, I got things I can rant about in regards to that. But this is why it's so important to have, again, these mile markers. Because, again, when you look at this, these are just 3 moments across 3 different books. What am I supposed to do with this? In fact, it's clear that Ron and Lavender have more going on for them than Ron and Hermione. And Ron and Lavender is not a good relationship. So that comes down to J.K. Rowling not really doing her part to develop what potential romance there is between the two of them until book 7. Now, she was banking on the fact that at this point, when she finally decided that Ron and Hermione would get together, that she had already developed a strong friendship between the two of them. And from friendship to romance, why not? It's just a couple of steps. The problem is that she didn't do a good job conveying those steps, nor did she do a really good job of conveying why either Ron or Hermione would actually fall for the other. Granted, we're seeing everything through Harry's eyes, and Harry's a bit of a dimwit when it comes to romance. But even then, she could still communicate it well from a limited third-person perspective, like Harry's. And that's just where, yeah, again, if there's anything I would fault J.K. Rowling for, besides I actually need more homework and more lesson plans for Hogwarts, is that the teenage romance was honestly not as well executed as it could have been. And as a result, it makes Ron and Hermione's relationship feel forced and rushed in the 7th book. In fact, she kind of calls herself out on it at the very end of this, towards the end of the 7th book, when Harry's all like, you guys are making out now. We are literally in the middle of a battle for our lives. This is the worst time ever. And I appreciate the meta. I really do. I laughed at it. But it feels almost unearned because, again, of how rushed it is. So, yeah, there's all right, there's my complaint. Now then, last one we'll do before wrapping up this lesson is Shrek. This is a fun one, again, because when we think about how you could break this down, you've got Shrek's personal journey, you've got Fiona's personal journey, Donkey's journey for what it's worth, the main plot, and of course the romance. All different kinds of things are happening, and Shrek is just such a fun story. So, as far as their romance goes, mile marker number 1, Dragon launches Shrek into the tower and he lands right next to Fiona. And rather than kissing her, shakes her awake. Tyler Goodman, there's a new Puss in Boots 3 in the working. I know, and I'm excited. I've been expecting that third movie for a while because of the way that The Last Wish ends. Such a good movie. Donkey's journey is the main plot. Yeah, Donkey is the most important character in all of Shrek. Let's just be honest. Without Donkey, Shrek the movie doesn't happen. Absolutely does not happen without Donkey. Donkey is the force that moves the world in Shrek. It's so true. So first mile marker, get launched, they meet, and even though it's still in the same sequence, I would actually put this as the second mile marker, and that is the escape. The reason why I say that is because obviously the way that Shrek crashes in and everything is meant to be a joke. And it's a brilliant standalone moment on its own. The moment that you hear the dragon roar and Fiona's like, you didn't slay the dragon? It's on my to-do list. Now, come on. And he grabs her and they're running through the castle. And she's like, this is all wrong. You're supposed to charge in sword drawn, banner flying. That's what all the other knights did. Yeah, right before they burst into flames. Well, can I at least know the name of my rescuer? Shrek. All right, well, Sir Shrek. And you have this amazing sequence from that point on where Fiona's trying to have the fairy tale moment, and he is all business because he's got to get the princess back to Lord Farquaad so he can get his swamp back. And on the way, he's got to save his ass from the dragon. And so it's its own amazing moment, which I would cap it off, even though, again, it's all part of the same sequence. I would say it's its own amazing mile marker moment because of what it means for both Shrek and Fiona when, after they escape, and she's just like, oh, you're amazing, you're incredible. And then he falls. You're a little unorthodox, I'll admit, but the deed is done. And she's like, I want you to remove your helmets. And he finally removes his helmet, revealing that he's an ogre. And so, of course, and then he's all like, oh, let me guess, you're expecting Prince Charming. Well, actually, which sets up the second movie. Amazing. Which is why I honestly say that when Shrek takes off his helmet serves as its own distinctive mile marker, because at that moment it shatters Fiona's expectations of a fairy tale ending. It forces a real confrontation between Shrek and Fiona, and Shrek has to deal with the prejudice that ogres get, and he doesn't realize that it's not prejudice that he's getting, but the regret and fear from Fiona because she herself is an ogre and is hoping to remain a human thanks to true love's kiss. Whew. Yeah, that's a lot. Donkey, best wingman, absolutely. Fiona gives off similar vibes to Susie, to be honest. Oh yeah, the whole kick butt attitude and everything, yes. How did that line fly over my head as a kid? Yes. I got to go save my ass. So many great lines from Shrek. So from there, other mile markers along the way include the argument, the argument right before Robin Hood kidnaps Fiona, beating up Robin Hood and his merry men, Fiona pulling the arrow out of Shrek's butt, and then proving. Well, actually, I would say that the whole like arrow in the butt moment actually would probably fit in better with the whole merry men thing, because she proves that she's, well, like appearances are deceiving because of how awesome she is. And then from there, the next mile marker is the musical montage as they're making their way to the kingdom, and they're eating all the nasty stuff along the way. Also, the mile marker from earlier, which I should mention, when Fiona doesn't want Shrek to be in the same room as her at night because she doesn't want him to see her as an ogre. So we have all of these fantastic mile markers going on to show how these two go from a misunderstanding to being antagonistic towards each other, developing respect, developing a friendship, and then realizing that they kind of like each other. Okay, but honest question: how do Donkey and Dragon, are they biologically compatible? Are dragons horses? It's a fairy tale. Donkey is a magical talking donkey, so magic dictates that weird things are going to happen, and weird things result in mutant dragon donkey babies. Yeah. At least he wasn't a mule. If he was a mule, there would be no weird dragon donkey babies, mutant babies. Oh man, that whole thing, is so, yeah, so messed up. It's so. I'm about to make a horrible comparison here. But donkey and dragon boinking is basically akin to the noodle incident in Calvin and Hobbes. We all know it happens. We will never know what exactly happened because it's far more entertaining, hilarious, or horrifying to never see what actually happened. And you know what? I am totally fine with that. How on earth Donkey and Dragon consummated is the noodle incident of Shrek. Just like the noodle incident of Calvin and Hobbes, we will never know what actually happened. We just know that it has scarred Calvin and Hobbes, whatever happened with the noodles. So I'm going to write a book about mutant dragon babies. Go on ahead. They're free game. Go ahead. Oh my gosh. In any case, return to it. Shrek and Fiona, their relationship makes way more sense than Ron and Hermione's just because there's so much to work with there. We can see and perfectly understand how their relationship evolves. They also have way more arguments than Rapunzel and Eugene do, and we get to see how they make up, how they overcome their differences, find each other's similarities, and overcome matters of miscommunication. And so these two really do earn their romance, and we get to see it blossom. And what I love about the second movie is that we get to see them confirm that romance through the adventure that they go through. And throughout the entire Shrek series, we get to see them constantly reaffirm their love for each other, which is something good to see in a story where you have romance as a central point to certain characters. You can't just take it for granted that they are in love and that everyone will always know that they're in love. We want to see love in action. When we do, we care about it. I haven't yet watched one particular video, but it keeps popping up in my feed for suggestions. And it is that no one cares about romantic subplots. But that's the thing, though. People do. People do care about romantic subplots all the time. It's one of the reasons why shipping culture is as big as it is. What people don't like, what they don't care about, is poorly written romance. And the problem is that there's too many poorly written romances, or romances that are just shoehorned in. And what we love to see, for instances, in stuff like Tangled and Shrek, is when a romance is written well. When it is, we care. And even if it's just a subplot, we care because it's written well, because it makes us love these characters, root for these characters, and become invested in their relationship. So, here is the writing challenge out of this writing lesson. And this goes along well with what TV Account was asking about. Write your own map with mile markers for, in this case, the romance between some of your characters. You need at least 10. I would say this. You should write out at least 10 important moments in chronological order that help to show how this couple comes together. Take a good drink of water. Wet my whistle. So, I've already shared a little bit from Bleed Seaman Seal with Zimon and Celestine. And I've been planning out other stories, because I always got so many stories in the works. Let me detail for you guys slight spoilers for a story that's going to take a little while for it to come out. So maybe everyone will forget the details. This will be buried by the internet, so I will not be held entirely responsible in case any of these points end up being different. But in a story that I've been thinking about, that I've been writing a little bit for, and I'm hoping to start writing next year alongside Whitefire book 1. In one particular story, I want to have basically total opposites get together. Funny enough, throughout a lot of the stories that I have written, I have very, very rarely actually done anything with opposites getting attracted to each other. Normally, a lot of the romances that I've written, it makes sense. You're like, okay, yeah, I can see that happening. Opposites attracting, as fun as that is actually a little bit more difficult than you might think, because again, you have to justify why on earth these characters get together. So, what I've been thinking about, so in terms of like mile markers for this potential couple, these two characters meet up because they've been hired for a special heist. I will admit I am shamelessly ripping off elements of Mistborn for this particular story. However, I am going in a slightly different direction, and I'm very happy with it. But these two characters have been hired for a particular heist, and what they are actually responsible for in the immediate is creating the front for this heist. The thieves need to pass themselves off as the proud owners of a patisserie store and tea shop. So one of these hired thieves is the baker, and the other hired thief is the entertainer at the tea shop. So at this tea shop, people are entertained magically by a person who can summon projections of what they read. And so one of these characters, he's behind a screen in the tea shop while all the people are drinking their tea and enjoying their patisseries. He reads the stories and conjures up the images. So that way they can see all these stories play out. And the baker, the other thief who's the baker, is baking all this stuff. And she already, so like first mile marker, they meet because they get hired on for the same job. What I would say then is like mile marker number 2 is that the thief who becomes the baker is just like, oh man, that guy over there, he's so intelligent, and I love, and like intelligent men are just hot, and they're like, really, you are a huge bruiser of a gal, and that's a spindly stick of a guy on over there who's always got his nose in a book. Are really? And she's like, I know he would never go for a girl like me. And so then while they're putting on the front of this patisserie and tea shop, the patrons to the shop are all like, oh my gosh, wouldn't it just be so cute if we got these two together? And the baker's like, yes, please help me figure out how I'm supposed to get his attention. And so then the customers begin interfering and start pulling strings, start doing things to get the two to start being around each other more outside of their profession as thieves, or in the case of the customers, as far as they know, their profession as entertainer and baker. And so then from there, just the story evolves from there. So those are kind of my mile markers. They meet because they are hired on. Baker begins to develop a crush. Baker begins conspiring with customers to get the entertainer to spend more time with her, so that way she can make him notice her and her feelings. And then shenaniganery ensues. Mile markers helps us to see how this particular relationship is evolving. I will say this, that's just a subplot within this story that I've got planned. It's not the main plot, and neither are these two characters necessarily the main characters. Now, for me to make sure that this works out, I will need to plot out, again, how they meet, what are the consequences of that, what's the next step from point A to point B to point C to point D to point E, and so forth. And in between those points, explain why each point leads to the next one. How do they actually, in the end, fall for each other? What does that look like? That is what you have to plot out. If I just dove on in and said, yes, these two are going to get together, I would find myself in an absolute mess, unsure of what to do, because again, they are not the main characters. This is a subplot. My main plot is magical thieves are trying to take over the city. How does that look? And so that would be what I'm more concerned with. And that's why having this map of romance with the specific mile markers is very, very important. So there's your lesson. That is your writing challenge. And with that, let's get to our final topic of the evening. The indie slop argument that is being made by people in particular regards, thanks to game overs showing up on the scene. Now then, I can immediately see why some people would go for that. So, think about like this image right here, what you see on the screen right here. In comparison to Knights of Guinevere, Horde of Murder Drones, Gaslight Theater, The Amazing Digital Circus, this looks rough and ready. I like it. Like, I am not ragging on it. Not at all. But by comparison, it looks rough and ready. Almost meaning like, am I looking more at someone's little flash animation experiment? Or am I actually looking at something that a company invested $300,000 into making? Like, what am I actually seeing? Because again, we jump on over here to this. Like, boom, like quality animation. And so, like, this stuff looks good. It looks like what one would expect from the big names of VisiPop, of Glitch, Liam, Gooseworks. Then it's like this is what people have come to expect now in terms of indie animation, because we're kind of spoiled these days with some really, really excellent work that creators have now put out. So when we then jump on over here to this, it almost seems silly. But the thing is that's the point. This is clearly like a late 90s, early 2000s edutainment game. And this is a story about games falling apart for whatever reason, and characters trying to prevent all these games from being destroyed. So TV Count says, this feels like a way of maintaining balance. One comment said, I don't know where that person's coming from, because it doesn't say much. This feels like a way of maintaining balance. Maintaining balance with what? Because as this progresses, yeah, we've got again, like, it's meant to look blocky and cheap because it's reminiscent of an old style edutainment game. But then that starts coming apart right at this moment. Because as the game starts coming apart, the weirdness in the animation suddenly alters. And it's no longer as jumpy and as weird. And then boom, smooth animation. So like I feel that I feel like there's people who are looking at this who are just like, oh man, this doesn't look as cool as Knights of Guinevere or like The Amazing Digital Circus. Therefore, this is lazy. It's lazy, I say. And again, so there's that. Plus, there's a lot of people who are jealous of what Glitch has become. Then on top of that, there are people who wonder if Glitch can even be considered indie anymore, because they are now a company supporting multiple projects and creators. Does that sound independent? And I think we need to realize what independent really means. That independent means is that it's independent of the main Hollywood framework. That this company is not beholden to Hollywood investment, Hollywood restrictions, and Hollywood oversights. It can be whatever it wants to be because the creators themselves have decided that would be the case. And that's what Kevin and Luke have stressed, is that it is creator freedom. They just facilitate it and help to make sure that the project runs professionally, so that way the story can be completed and be made the best that it can possibly be. So TV Count says, a form of order, for every non-controversial business, there has to be a blind group of stans who support them regardless. Okay, I guess I can see what that what that particular argument is. And it's true. There's always going to be those groups who do it, who are all like, "Oh yeah, it's always great. It's always great." But as I have pointed out, in the past, it's clear that something like Knights of Guinevere is not in a good place because it has not yet been greenlit, which is really sad to see. And that's kind of a blight on Glitch's record. And so we'll have to see how things play out, because right now it's not looking all too good. And if they have a flop on their hands, that costs them money, and that could ruin their reputation. And eventually everyone's got a flop. And I would hate to see that Knights of Guinevere is the one that is the first real trip up. So, I mean, we'll just have to see. TV Count says there's a business with little to no controversy and would have a group of random people who blindly hate for the following. Yeah. That's really what the argument for AI slop, or not for AI slop, I keep on saying AI slop because we're just inundated these days with AI slop. When people talk about indie slop, as TV Count says, it's jealousy, lack of information, etc. Yeah, people just wanting to basically take down Glitch, or they think they're taking down Glitch by bad mouthing their projects, finding things to be angry about. And if you're going to judge Glitch based on what they're currently doing, like if you're going to say slop, you can't say slop because they're not cranking out all kinds of random crap all the time. That's basically what slop is these days. So there's obviously real work and investment going into this. Plus, in an upcoming video, I'm going to show just how successful Glitch has been doing with real, honest work. And because of that, again, it kind of breaks the argument with actual fact of real investment, real skill, real time has gone into all of this, real business decisions, a real navigating of the system in order to make sure that Glitch and its productions succeed. Seating Count says, sorry, the other one was supposed to be controversial. There was no none. Sorry. All right. But yeah, when people these days tear into indie, really a lot of it, from my perspective, is jealousy. There's a lot of jealousy because there's a lot of people out there who are trying to make it big and just don't, even though they've got some great work out there. It just, for some reason or another, doesn't all come together, and they get angry about it. And so it's easy then to try to take down other people. When you have animators, studios, projects that are doing really, really well, they make themselves easy targets for others to try to take them down a peg, because there's just a bad, like, lobster mentality amongst a lot of fans and creators, where if someone isn't doing well, they're like lobsters at the bottom of the barrel. And when one person does really well, like a lobster trying to escape from the barrel, the other lobsters grab that lobster and yank it down back into the barrel. This is like if I can't escape, you can't escape. Nope. And it's the same thing, unfortunately, with a lot of people, where they just get jealous, or they find satisfaction in tearing down other people. When I was a teacher, I noticed that there were so many teenagers who would belittle their fellow classmates out of a certain sense of spite and jealousy. And a lot of those who would throw around that kind of shade and anger and drama were usually the people who were trying to be the class clown and weren't all that funny. They were the kind of people who wanted to be cool, but were very clearly posers. They were the kind of people who would have preferred to be the intelligent and smart person, or the cool student, or the very skilled athlete. But because they weren't, they found ways of belittling the people who were doing the stuff that they secretly wanted to do. If you ever point out, they'd be like, no, 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 I'm just having fun. I'm just having fun. It's like, you're not having fun. You're being a jerk. And it's like, that's just not cool. Like, nope, you're going to stop. It's a, let's hear it. Sorry, the other one was supposed to be controversy. There's, so what exactly TV account is the Philippines saying in your country? Maybe I missed it. Okay, so there has to be are you saying that the saying goes in the Philippines, there has to be a blind group of stands who supports them regardless. There's a business with little to no controversy. So like Jax. Yeah, Jax is like a lot of the kids that I taught in high school, unfortunately. Who just belittle and make fun of other people because life is not going well for them. I see what you're saying. In the Philippines, saying the crab mentality. Yep, the crab mentality. Yeah, when people attack Glitch, it's the crab mentality, which is kind of sad because Glitch really is trying to find ways of elevating other creators. But as they bring up, it costs a lot. So sometimes the best they can do is just bring attention to other people, which is why Glitch X was something that they were experimenting with it at first. But when that didn't really, excuse me, my voice is beginning to go. Drink some water real quick. When Glitch X didn't immediately start raising everyone's boats, I think that's when Glitch was like, you know what? If we really want indie animation to become what we can see it being, what we know it has the potential to be, we literally have to put money where our mouth is, and we have to start working with more people in various ways, which is what Glitch is beginning to become. They're becoming a hub that supports as many people as possible, giving those crabs chances to get out and succeed. Problem is that again, there's that mentality, that crab mentality is always going to exist. Do you think Saberspark Indie Studio might help even things out? We'll see. I actually don't know much about what Saberspark is right now working on, so I'll have to give that a look. TV account. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. Because I'll be very interested in what Saberspark is doing and seeing how well that goes down. But yeah, effectively, those who have the ability to help out should help out where they can, and I think that we, as people who enjoy indie animation, should do what we can to invite others to try stuff out. Like I know that like I had a ton of fun introducing murder drones to people. And those who honestly gave it a shot were like, this was fun. Like, so many people really, really enjoyed Murder Drones. The Amazing Digital Circus has been harder for people in my personal circle to get into, even though I absolutely love it. But I have also been like, I'm really excited to see, I've been really, really excited to see how Tales of Zale, so this little Fox animation, how it's right now going through a resurgence. The creator has updated their style and is trying to now make way more Zale content. So I'm really excited to see what happens there. I recently came across Mammal Squad, which is pretty cool, and they've got a new episode releasing on Valentine's Day. And I've been telling people about Mammal Squad. So like, you just tell people as you come across stuff, you're like, yeah, no, this is good. This is good. Tigerman says, Pomni X Ragatha, that'll be a good ship for them, and Gangle X Zubul, that also is great as well. Well, where did that come from? I think that the only ship that has any chance of sailing is Gangle and Zubul. Just gonna be honest. I think that was the Dark Horse ship, and now it's kind of the Forerunner. Forerunner, the front runner. It's not the Forerunner, it's the front runner. Forerunner was Kinger and Queenie. Steven Yeun says he's going to try to establish an animation studio. He's still in the organization stage. Awesome. Hey, and ISO, congratulations on you getting a girlfriend. Woohoo! And she loves murder drones. Oh boy. Oh boy. That's great. That is great right there, my friend. Hey, babe, for Valentine's Day, we're going to watch The Promening. All right. Anyways, where was I going? Oh yeah, like you just need to continue. Like, we as people who enjoy indie animation just have to share it. You got to share it with other people, because that's one of the things that also makes indie what it is that it lacks the ability to really have to really advertise itself. It lacks the Hollywood resources and infrastructure necessary to advertise. So word of mouth is very, very important. And if you come across something that you enjoy, you got to share it. Just like how I'm Omega has shared with me, No Evil, which is a very long-running indie series that massively predates anything that we've talked about. And it's incredible that it's still going with its own unique story, with deep lore and everything. It's pretty cool. And then you've got a story like Gilded Guy, which has kind of been doing its own thing also for a really long time. And that animator's like, I don't care. Like, I do stuff on my own, like at my own speed, and just tells his own really fun story. And that is in of itself a concept that I think is vital going forward into a new age of storytelling, because we are right now in a transition phase. This transition phase is of Hollywood in open decline. And traditional publishing is also in open decline. Traditional comics are in open decline. People are starving for good storytelling. They want it. And indie storytelling, from indie animation to indie comics to independent publishing, self-publishing, has the opportunity to step in and tell amazing stories. The problem is getting it to the masses. And so that is where, again, word of mouth comes in. So, like, if you guys, for instance, support what I do here with Camille's Harem, then you could obviously share, say, hey, guess what? There's this guy on YouTube. His name is Lars. He's part of this group, Camille's Harem. It's really great. You should go check it out. Plus, also, he writes books. Some of them are fun. Go check out his book. Recommend it. And suddenly then that does more for me than really any chatting or investment of money. Word of mouth is so strong. And so, like, as I says right here, Guild Guys Peak, 100% better storytelling than modern Star Wars, and no dialogue. Oh yeah, now, Gilded Guy is fantastic, and I agree, definitely 100% better than the storytelling in modern Star Wars. Unless we're talking about Rogue One. Rogue One is great. I don't care that it's now becoming popular to hate on it. It's still a fun movie and pretty well put together. You can easily rewatch Rogue One and have a good time. Yeah, Gilded Guy definitely recommend. And like I said, I recommend checking out Mammal Squad. It's a new one I came across. It's a bit more intense. It's a little bit more mature, but it hits hard. It is a very emotional ride to watch Mammal Squad, and it's good. It's well done too. So definitely recommend that, along with, again, to anyone who hasn't seen Murder Drones or The Amazing Digital Circus, absolutely go love it, enjoy. But we are definitely in a new age where indie has a chance to step in. The only problem is that by the very virtue of it being independent, it lacks the resources to make a splash. So what we need to do as creators ourselves is spread the word, network, improve. And one of the biggest things is actually make our stories. The very first success, before you even worry about making money, if you want to be a storyteller for a profession, the very first thing you need to concern yourself with is finishing your story and making it the best you can do. If you're doing it because you want to be a professional, or whether you're doing it because you are just writing for your own sake and your own fun, finish your story. That is the very first and most important victory that anyone in independent media can do. So that's it. With that being said, sorry guys, but I really do feel my voice going. So I am going to have to cut off here before I just break down and you can't hear anymore. Before that happens, we'll cut it off here. As a quick reminder, next week, the live stream will be on Thursday night. I will post reminders next week to let everyone know that is indeed the case. And we'll have some real fun with that. And I am hoping to release 2 special videos as well around Valentine's Day. And I hope that you guys enjoy that. So it's time for me to get back to work where I don't have to use my voice. And thank you guys so much for joining me tonight for this writing lesson, for talking about Deltarune, for talking about romance, for talking about indie animation and why it's definitely not indie slop right now. And thank you as well for all of your input and everything, for your support. This does not happen without you guys. So thank you so much. And until the next video, y'all, tschüss.